if you understand how to speak to AI and get it to do the things that you need it to do, you're the valuable one.
Absolutely. And if you don't know how to do it, ask AI to teach you, because it's literally, what are the best prompts to do this? Anything having to do with computers, the AI is spectacular. I mean, just spectacular. I set up some code. I'm not an engineer by trade. I ran businesses, I've ran sales teams, but I'm not an engineer. I was able to go and, set up things in Python where I'd never touched a line of Python code before and be like, I'm getting this error. And it's like, oh, you got this error. Well, it must mean this. Here's some new code to handle that error, and boop, I put it in and then it would run.
A leader has to take the risks.
Daniel, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Thomas Ryan, man. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Are we live?
We're live, man. AI, sales, you name it, man. So what's going on? How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Doing fantastic. We've just been so busy over here.
What part of the world are you, man?
I'm in South Florida.
Okay. Nice. So how's the weather right now?
The weather's beautiful. I mean, I think right now we're at about 75 degrees out, something like that, and sunny and
nice.
Yeah, we just had a little cold snap where it got into the 50s at night for a while, but I can deal with that.
Sweet, man. Sweet. Well, look, first of all, I just want to say thanks for hanging with us on Wealth on the Beach podcast. Excited to have you. And, so what, I'm just going to get right into it, man. I mean, what got you into AI and sales, and how does that all come together? And what's the best way to describe how that comes together?
Sure. So I was running sales teams, and back in about 2002 or 3, I got pulled onto the project to help redesign the CRM at the company I was working at. So I started taking really a close look on how things worked, how they could work a little bit better, how to make and the CRM is really a sales system, right? So what I found was the big problem with CRMs is everyone hates them. And I'm not talking about upper management. I'm not talking about like the CEO of the company. I'm talking about the actual users, because what ends up happening is everything you do, you now have to document. And for most of these guys, it's just an extra 30, 60, 90 minutes of busy work on a daily basis. So these guys would all hate it. So my initial idea was to build a CRM with everything hooked in. Your cell phone's hooked in, right? Every text you send is hooked in. Every email is hooked in. Every phone call is hooked in. And now when you're doing reporting, rather than have one system where you're looking at phone calls, or maybe you just have no idea what's going on, how many calls people are making, who they're calling, how long those calls are going, et cetera. Now that's right in your CRM system, right? Pretty much no one knows what's being done over text at businesses. Now that's right in your CRM. Emails, now that's right in your CRM. And what I found was businesses, we showed them this product and they're like, yeah, that's great. Where do I get my data? Can you guys just get me some leads? Right. So we kind of changed the business. We said, okay, people want leads. And we set this up to basically handle their leads, that we automate using AI all the lead gen. So we can automate out the emails, we can schedule everything, we can book appointments over SMS, and we're working on the AI for calls, which will actually be able to, basically take someone's information directly over the phone using the AI to, do an insurance claim, to sign someone up for insurance, to sign someone up for, an appointment for anything, right? A doctor's office, for a contractor to come to your house, for anything that you may need 5, 10, 15 questions asked, some qualifying questions. The AI will be able to do that, qualify the person, and either set an appointment directly or send them right to an agent.
So to some, like if I was a part of the system, I would go in there and I would tell the AI these questions that I want to ask, like the qualifying questions. So does it kind of take me through a process that I have to go through to teach the AI what I want actually done?
Yeah, we would actually sit with you and we would have a document and we would say, okay, give us the history of your business, give us a paragraph on what your business does, give us your 5 or 10 key selling points or the reasons why someone should use you, what warranties, what offers, etc. And we punch all of this into the AI. We feed it all in, and that is the source of truth.
So it's almost like you're basically prompting the AI everything that it needs to know about this specific client, and then it just goes to work, basically.
That's exactly right. And what are your qualifying questions, right? So what are the 5 questions that you give your sales reps to ask? Because most businesses I was at, it's like, everyone has 5 or 10 questions that they need to ask. And what are the answers to those 5 or 10 questions? And the AI will just keep working until it gets those answers. So if you ask it a question, it can answer any of your questions. We're using ChatGPT and Claude on the back end. So it can answer anything about your business. A few 50 pages of documentation, you can feed it all in. Then we put that into a vector database and we tell the AI where to go. Okay, they want a question on the warranty. Here's the warranty section. It goes, it pulls that data, and it'll be able to answer basically anything about your business. And it's not going to go off and guess. It's not just going to grab data from the internet. It's going to actually grab the data that we feed into it. But now you can make it like your best sales rep. You can put in literally everything there is to know about your product or service.
Yeah, this is wild, man. I mean, what a whole nother world we're in. I mean, I've been in sales for over 25 years. And so this is a wild moment we are having in the world. And look, I mean, just the fact that it can create so much, it could work for us. I mean, it's just a workhorse for us that allows us to not have to do so many of those little minor things that we're all used to doing all of the time. I mean, if somebody wants a simple question, why do I have to answer that question? Why can't I just have my assistant answer that question? And that's why I'm a huge believer, by the way. I was very excited about this conversation, Thomas, because I really believe in the technology, and I believe that this is taking us, and we're going to have a great conversation because I want to know your ideas of where this thing's going and in the future of all of this. But let's be honest, man, if you are a salesperson, if you're an entrepreneur, if you're a business owner, you have to start understanding this technology because it's allowing you to have a more freer life. And I equate it like this. If you're a high-powered business person with millions of dollars in budget to be able to pay assistants and pay people to do stuff for you, of course, out of our whole life, there's always been people like that, that they have assistants that they pay $50,000, $100,000 a year that are doing everything for them. They're answering all their calls. They're qualifying all the questions that they're getting from their potential prospects, or just people that just have general questions or ideas to give them. They don't want to waste time dealing with those people all the time. Like that's just not something they do. So they pay people to do that. So isn't it interesting though? And give me your take on this, because isn't it interesting that people look at ChatGPT or they look at AI or they look at all this stuff and they think it's cheating?
No, it's crazy. If you're a high-powered sales rep, right? If you're at the top of your field, rather than take every phone call, rather than get every message, you can literally set up the AI to do the low value work for you, right? To do all of the work that is, grunt work, for lack of a better word, the initial qualification, and do it in a friendly, conversational way. So people always talk about, like, what if it offends someone, or what if it goes off the rails? They did this with doctors already. And they said, as far as the quality of the answers, the AI gave about the same quality answers as going to a specialist. But as far as the bedside manner, the AI was about 40 points better on a scale of 1 to 100, because it would take as much time as the patient wanted to answer questions. It would answer dumb questions. It would explain things. It would explain terms. It would say, hey, is there anything else you want to know? Can I give you any more information? And it blew the doctors away on what you would really think of as the human factor, because it wasn't like, I'm the specialist and I've been studying this for 40 years. Why don't you just shut up and do what I say? It will actually take the time to go through and do everything with them.
Hey, look, I got a great story to tell in this situation, because look, my kids, they make fun of me because I use ChatGPT. I mean, I like using the technology because it helps me explain things even better. I mean, I think I'm a decent writer, but I've never been, that was not my favorite subject. I mean, I'm not an English major, anything like that. So when I write something to anybody, sometimes, well, not every time, but sometimes I'll just take it and I'll throw it in there. Like for example, there was a situation, somebody passed away and I wanted to send a really nice note. And so what ChatGPT does is it actually cleans up my idea, right? You still have to put the idea in there. I mean, it's not like, the ChatGPT is just figuring out what I want to say. It doesn't know what I want to say. I have to prompt it. I have to tell it my ideas, what I think, what I believe, what I, want to come across, my condolences to the situation. And of course, they're just cleaning it up. It just makes it sound so much nicer and cleaner and better. And in a lot of cases, a lot more sincere and a lot more direct and straightforward. And am I making any sense here?
Oh yeah. I mean, for me, I know ChatGPT is a better writer than I am. And I think artificial intelligence is really the wrong name for this right now. Now, we might have a general intelligence at some point in time where it actually thinks up new ideas and new things. But what it really is the most advanced autocomplete ever designed. That it has read everything that has ever been written on the internet. And then it says, okay, someone is saying something about this. What are other things that look like this? And okay, here's 20,000 other examples. Let me put something together that uses those 20,000 examples. And that's how it works, right?
It's wild. Could you go into more detail in that? Like, how does ChatGPT work?
Yeah, so what they do is they have 1.7 trillion data points right now. And they've basically taken all of the content on the internet and they've scanned it all. And the reason that we're having this revolution now and not 10 years ago or 10 years from now is we finally have the processing power to be able to do it. And as that processing power continues to increase, this is going to get leaps and bounds better over time. So are you familiar with Moore's Law?
No. Oh, so, yeah, a little bit.
I mean, basically, it says processing power for computers doubles every 18 to 24 months. And this has been happening since the 60s or 50s or whatever, since they invented computers, that every year and a half, every 2 years, the ability of those computers has doubled. So what used to take a full room to send people to the moon, I now have, more power in my iPhone, right? Far and away more power. I think I have more power in my calculator when I was a kid than they did at the computer that sent the rocket to the moon, right? So the same thing's happening with AI, but it's happening every 3 to 6 months, which, what does that look like? Well, that means 6 months, right? 5 years from now, if it's doubling, it's 1,000 times more powerful. What's it going to look like at 1,000 times more powerful in 5 years? And it's 1,000,000 times more powerful in 10 years. And
I think, kind of getting back to my point of having an assistant, it cost me $20 a month. I mean, at least in using ChatGPT 4.0 or whatever it is.
Yep.
I mean, I have an assistant for a couple $100 a year versus $100,000 a year that can write better, probably, than that person that I'm paying $100,000 a year to be my assistant. I can ask it anything. I mean, I used it. I own a commercial property and I, rented it, I'm leasing it out. So there was a couple of things that the lawyer, it was late at night and I wanted to know some answers. So I just went in there and I asked it all kinds of questions. And matter of fact, I took the whole contract, I stuck it in the ChatGPT, and I'm like, just tell me if there's anything I should worry about or any challenges with this contract that you think. And boom, 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 all these different ideas and all these different things that I didn't see on the first. and there's just it's just so powerful. It's unbelievable. Okay, I have a question for you, Thomas, because I'm telling you this,
and it's probably not going to be better than the top lawyer in the field, but it's going to be a hell of a lot better than I am.
Oh,
right?
absolutely.
Or it's probably not going to be better than the top heart surgeon about hearts, but it's going to know more than 99.9% of the general public about anything there is out there. So if you're at the top of your field,
start, right? It's a great place to start when you're trying to analyze something. It's a great place to go, okay, here's a foundation, boom, 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 boom. And then you can keep asking from there. And if you feel like you're not getting the best answers, then you go to the professional, you go to the heart surgeon, you go to the whoever, but at least it's a foundation. And it's like you said, what's 1.7 trillion or whatever, bits of information. It's just wild, man. Okay, Thomas, because like I said, man, we're going to be here for 3 days because I have so much, because I'm just fascinated by you and I'm fascinated by this technology. Okay, so what are some of the challenges that you had when, developing this program and this app and this business that you put together?
So, I mean, you want to talk about being here for 3 days. I could write a book on all the challenges that I've had. So for anyone who's building something new, nothing is easy. Any of these things that looks like an overnight success. I mean, maybe you get 1 in a million that just pops overnight, but there's probably a lot of blood, sweat, and tears behind it for, working 60 and 80-hour weeks for years. And then, oh my God, it's an overnight success. Right. They don't see all the work that went in and all the challenges. So we had to figure out the best way to advertise the product. So, I can tell you, we had a bunch of issues initially with advertising. We started advertising. We had a bot farm put on us. One of our competitors put a bot farm on us. That was fun. So all of a sudden our conversions went to 0 and our cost went up tenfold on Google overnight, and we couldn't figure out what happened. And then we started seeing all the traffic was from places like Moses Lake, Washington, and Cheyenne, Wyoming, and Ashburn, Virginia. And you're like, what do these all have in common? And they're like, oh, they all have big data centers for AWS, right? So, there was things like that, and, on all the different advertising platforms. By the way, figure out how to advertise or hire someone who knows how to do it. We're doing things for other businesses where if they don't want to figure out how to advertise, we'll help them with that piece of the business as well. But with the changing TCPA rules, cold outreach is basically going to be dead. If you start texting lists cold, if you start calling consumers cold, they'll start finding you ridiculous amounts of money. And next year, the gloves are coming off with the FTC and the FCC. So that's
you think it's going to be, more?
Oh my God. So basically there was a loophole. So it used to be that if you filled out a form online, right, they could call you from that company. What everyone assumes is I fill out a form for XYZ business can give me a call. But not only could XYZ business give you a call, if they have in their terms and conditions that they have data partners, they can then provide that data to their data partners. So your lead might be resold 1,000 times or 100 times to different people. And then, okay, it's 30 days old. Now we're going to send it to another group of people. It's 60 days old. We're going to sell to another group of people. It's 90 days old. We're going to sell to another group of people. And if you're not on the DNC, they will keep reselling that data for a year or so. And your data might go to 200 different companies. So you just keep getting calls out of the blue. You keep getting texts out of the blue. And technically it's legal. Well, they've just closed that loophole and it goes into effect February of next year. And once that loophole is closed, now it's going to be pretty cut and dry. I filled out a form for XYZ company. If I get a call from anyone but XYZ company, it's a violation. And they're going to start charging, depending on where you are, $500, $1,000, $1,500 per violation. So if someone's like, oh yeah, you texted me 10 times, and then they get the data for your company, that lawyer, and they say, well, you also did this to 10,000 other people, right? So let's see, you sent 1 million texts you weren't supposed to. Why don't you just cut us a check for $500 million? And I mean, they're going to start coming after people. They're going to come after people guns blazing. Yeah.
This is happening.
if you look at the phone companies, they even said like T-Mobile will now charge you $500 if you violate their policies. And again, I think they're giving everyone kind of a grace period of 2024, but 2025, when all of this really goes into effect, unless they change the rules, if you're calling consumers, look out.
So now can AI protect us in this situation? I mean, is there any, are they able to check the database before calls go out? Or
of course you can, of course,
okay.
right? So I can tell you what we're doing. We're starting everything. We said, okay, we're going to make sure that everyone is by the book who's using our system. Right. We're not going to do anything that isn't by the book. We had to throw a ton of people off our platform, which is always hard to do because we had a bunch of guys using the platform and we were like, these guys aren't compliant. They're not following the rules and we're going to get in trouble. So we had to boot them all off the platform, which, kind of stinks when you have to fire 80% of your customers. Right. Which I did a few months ago. We just kicked them all off. And we said, okay, everyone's got to be by the book. Everything is going to start with a form fill. We're going to get a certificate. There's two main companies that are doing it. There's a bunch of others, but there's, two main ones. One's called Janaya, one's called Trusted Form. And you can literally get a screenshot of the person filling out the form. You have to make sure your terms and conditions are right. So we have our own CMS that we built to make sure that we have the appropriate terms and conditions. We have the appropriate legal language that is going up on all the landing pages, and we're building out thousands of landing pages. And anyway, if your language is not right, it's a violation, like in California, if you were to actually take that screenshot that shows the person actually filled out the form. That if you take the 15 seconds video of them filling out the form and you don't notify them properly, you're going to be in violation of the state rules in California, where you could be fined $5,000 per occurrence. So I think the government is really going to start coming after people for these violations. They want to clean everything up. The phone companies have already said you have to register your phone number for any campaign. They're trying to get all the fraud off their networks. And this is coming from the phone companies. It's coming from the government. It's coming from the states, the federal government. So again, what we're doing is we're running an ad somewhere. We have a landing page somewhere. We have an SEO form somewhere. Right. Someone fills out that form. That lead will come directly into our system. We'll get a copy of a certificate of them filling out that thing, which we then save for 5 years, which is the statute of limitations on lawsuits. And then we will have the AI start reaching out to it right now via text, where the AI will reach out. Hey, this is Daniel. I'm your sales assistant. We'd like to schedule in for an appointment if there's any questions we need to have asked. Hey, Daniel, do you own your own home? Are you over 65? Or, whatever questions you might need asked, it'll ask those questions. And then if the person qualifies, it books them into an appointment. And if they go dark for a while, it starts following up automatically. Hey, Dan, I didn't hear back from you. Do you still have some time tomorrow? Right. Hey, Dan, you still need help? Right. And then it'll follow up the next day. And it'll just basically keep following up until you either say stop or, show some negative sentiment, like leave me alone. I don't want to do this anymore. Right.
And the AI knows when they say something negative or they respond back negative. So it kind of knows that, all right, maybe I should stop dealing with this person.
If the AI picks up negativity, it'll stop. And the other thing that we do is we have some negative keywords in there, right? So if someone's using like any of the banned words from George Carlin, or someone goes, go kill yourself or something like that, it's going to be like, oh, right, let's cut off this conversation here, and then we opt them out automatically. So
I love it.
And we run it against the known litigant list, and we run it against the DNC if on some of the stuff. And anyway,
all right, I want to get your thoughts real quick, because this is a big, subject that people are talking about when we're discussing AI. It's getting rid of AI is replacing human jobs.
100%.
What is your take on that? And where do you think we're going with this 10 years from now? Where are we going to be 10 years from now? If you were to make a solid prediction, give me some examples.
I think this is going to lead to the biggest productivity boom in human history. So if you go back 200 years ago to the founding of the country, everyone worked as a farmer pretty much. You had something like 90% of the adult population worked in farms. And if you told those guys, hey, today, 200 years in the future, only 5% of the people are going to work on farms, they'd say, oh my God, this is going to be horrible. 85% of us are going to be unemployed. We're going to have nothing to do, right? There's just going to be nothing for any of us. And I think this is kind of the same thing with AI. If your job is filling out a form, if your job is answering the phone, if your job is taking one piece of data and taking it from one computer system and putting it into another computer system, you're going to be out of a job. You're going to need to do something else. But it's not like the height of productivity for people. There's other things people can do. There's creative things they can do. There's service jobs they can do. There's, so it's going to change the type of work people do. Anything that you can do on a computer, AI can already do better or will be able to do better in the next year or two. That's it. Hard stop. Anything on a computer, AI will be better than you.
Elon Musk was talking about how, eventually we're going to get to the point where people are going to have to get paid by the government, and they're just going to have to tax these mega corporations at such a high rate because there's going to be so many people not working. Do you see that happening?
I don't know. I think the type of jobs are going to change. I think what people are doing is going to change. If we're in a society where you have a robot that can clean your home, cook you dinner, right, wash your clothes, put them away for you, and you have computer programs that can handle all of the tasks that you want to do online, and now you can go and do other pursuits that are more interesting to you, artistic pursuits, leisure, whatever it might be, are we worse off as a society? So where I see this hitting the hardest, where it won't be evenly distributed, is the third world, right? All those call center jobs in India, Pakistan, the Philippines, places like that, a lot of those jobs are going away. My recommendation to anyone, if you're worried about losing your job, learn how to use AI. If you're one of the people who knows how to use these tools, you'll be much more valuable than the people who don't. You'll be
because
able to do
if
10
you
times the work.
understand prompting, if you understand how to speak to AI and get it to do the things that you need it to do, you're the valuable one.
Absolutely. And if you don't know how to do it, ask AI to teach you. Because it's literally, what are the best prompts to do this? Anything having to do with computers, the AI is spectacular. Just spectacular. I set up some code. I'm not an engineer by trade. I ran businesses, I've ran sales teams, but I'm not an engineer. I was able to go and, set up things in Python where I'd never touched a line of Python code before and be like, I'm getting this error. And it's like, oh, you got this error. Well, it must mean this. Here's some new code to handle that error, and boop, I put it in and then it would run. Right. So, right now, if you just have ChatGPT and no coding experience, you can do as much as a senior engineer who's about average. Now, you're not going to be better than the best guy on earth, right? But you're going to be as good as the average engineer with 5 or 10 years of experience just using the tools. And companies have even said, we're finding that the junior engineers are now as good as the senior engineers because they're not afraid to use AI. They don't look at it like, if I use one of these tools, it's going to hurt me.
Well, again, I think it's just people think it's cheating. People don't realize, really, they think it's cheating. They're like, I'm not going to use AI because I got to use my own brain and I got to figure this out. Even though it's going to take me 3 years to figure it out, I got to figure it out on my own. Is it the human ego?
I don't know. This is like saying I'm not going to use a calculator, right? I want to do a math problem. And, we're dealing with hundreds of figures and they're all 7 digits long and you want to calculate everything by hand. I mean, put it into a spreadsheet and do some formulas, it's the exact same thing.
So have you gotten criticism though at any point while you've been building this at all? What's the biggest criticism that you've got because of what you've been building?
I think when you're starting a new business, you're fighting irrelevance. You're not fighting the criticism. The criticism comes a little bit later. I can tell you every business that I'm talking to is interested in AI, every single one. If they have more than 10 or 20 employees, they're saying, how can I use these tools? And I don't think you want to be late to this party. I think this is one where you want to be an early adopter. I have an AI group down in Miami, and every one of them says, yeah, I go into the business and we're looking at different things and we can figure out how to save them huge amounts of money in pretty much every single department by automating tasks that people are doing manually right now. And, manual means mistakes, delays, lags, problems. And it's the same thing with following up on leads. If you get 100 leads a day in, right, and to get those guys on the phone, you need to contact them 10 times on average, right? Well, you need to do 30,000 touch points in a month. Who has the time to do that? It's not that people are lazy and they don't follow up because they're lazy. It's because it's literally time prohibitive. And time is really the only finite resource that's out there. So, you can make your business more efficient by using these tools. And there's also something where if you follow up with people within an hour, your odds of turning that into a sale go up something along the lines of, 20x, so yeah,
Well,
if
it's
you're
wild
waiting 3,
because
5, 10 days to follow up, I mean, you're just shooting yourself in the foot.
yeah, I mean, it's just wild to me because again, I've been in sales for over 25 years and I just remember, writing down in my little notepad, writing when I would prospect somebody, because I'm in a recruiting business. We have a financial services organization, 1,500 licensed agents, and our job is to recruit and train and develop, and we work a lot in the warm market lead area, and just through the recruiting and training and developing other people, and it's wild, man. I mean, I used to sit down, I'd meet somebody, I'd write their name. I remember I used to always have my little Mont Blanc pin in my shirt. I'd have my pager. I had my pager. I had my big Kyocera smartphone, right? I mean, I was always kind of an early adopter with technology, things like that. But I just remember, I'd write it down and then I'd maybe put it in the database later or whatever. And
or maybe you didn't.
Or maybe you didn't. Exactly. That's the point. It's like, then I didn't. And then I forgot about the person. And then 3 months later,
You're going through your sheets of paper on your desk trying to find it.
Yeah. It's like, so explain to me how this is going to help me if I'm in that situation. Because by the way, a lot of people are still there, by the way. So how does this help me? How does your company help me?
Well, I mean, the first thing we do is we automate everything. We make sure that everything gets off of sheets of paper and is an automated process. Where what I found is managing people, you can set up the process, right? And then you follow up with them a week or two later and you say, how many people have actually followed this process to a T? And the answer is almost none of them. And then you have to check on the stuff all the time. And, if you hire very smart people, it might be a little bit better. But, typically what you find is the problem is someone takes shortcuts because it takes a long time and they're trying to focus on revenue generating activities. If you're dealing with salespeople want to be making money, right? They want to be talking to top prospects so they can make money. They don't want to be doing busy work. They don't want to be sitting at the office till 8 o'clock at night, to spend the extra hour or two at the end of the day, putting everything they did during the day into their computer system. So this automates everything. It tracks everything. It makes sure that all the follow-up is done by the computer. So the high value work you can focus all your time on that instead of doing the $10 an hour stuff.
That's powerful. That's powerful. And in your opinion, what is going to be the next breakthrough in AI or just technology in general?
I mean, I think in AI, to me, where we are with AI is kind of like when the internet came out. We're still on Mosaic. We're using 14.4 modems right now, where everything's, you're hearing that sound in the background as it's calling the computer and it's taking 5 minutes to load up an image, right? That's where we are with AI right now. As they increase the processing power, first off, we're going to see everything get fast. Everything's going to be almost instantaneous. It's going to be like a Google search that you click go and, as fast as your brain can comprehend, you have the answers there. So, I mean, that's going to come over the next couple of years. And then they're going to have very specialty curated databases for this stuff. So they'll have all the legal rules in a legal database by state, right? They'll have all the accounting rules. They'll have all these specialty databases that have curated information, because one of the big things with ChatGPT is it doesn't really think, right? It doesn't say, which source should I use? So Google, right? Google uses backlinks. That's how it tells, well, who should I trust? Let's trust the source that has, 1 million backlinks over the source that has 2, right? And that's how Google figures everything out. And then everyone tries to game it, right? And now it has a rating as well as the amount of backlinks you have as well to say what sources should we trust. Well, with AI, it has the same problem, except they haven't really solved it yet. So what people are doing is they're going to curate specialty databases to make sure that, hey, if I'm getting legal information from this, it's not going to just make something up. Because occasionally, because it's autocomplete, well, it'll just complete something that looks real but doesn't exist. So there's actually been a couple of lawyers who have been disbarred because they just had ChatGPT write everything for them, and it just made up some legal cases, and everything looked fine, but it was wrong. And we would try to do it for a while with like phone numbers and stuff, add a person's email or phone number, and if it couldn't find the right source for it, it would just make something up, and it looked like an email or it looked like a phone number, but it didn't go to the right person, it didn't go anywhere. So the more you play with it, you realize it's not really intelligence. It's more autocomplete, at least at the moment. That might change over the next couple of years.
So what you're saying is there's going to be, so this whole technology is going to, like right now, people are building basically databases for, if you want the best legal ChatGPT, artificial intelligence, if you want the best legal advice, if you want the best, whatever lawyer that you could possibly
medical, engineering, technical, whatever.
Yeah.
It's going to have all the best practices. So that's happening on one side. The processing speed is increasing dramatically. So Sam Altman right now is invested in a chip company that's supposed to have chips that are 10 times faster, or 100 times faster, specifically for AI, which again will solve a ton of problems.
What company was that, by the way?
I forget. It's one that Sam Altman has invested in. So the OpenAI guy, Mr. OpenAI has invested in this, and I'll put my money behind whatever Sam's doing.
Oh yeah, absolutely. No, that's I'd like to get in on that investment for sure.
And what I think they're going to start doing is having these things leverage on themselves, is rather than having people try to program the stuff, they're going to teach the AI to program and to self-improve, which, that's where we might see some scary advances that are happening over the next couple of years, where the AI is going to, kind of start writing its own code, writing its own models to improve in ways that we never thought of.
What about elections, man? How is this going to influence our elections when now they just had that guy, the president of, I think is Milei, the president of Argentina. I thought it was really interesting. His YouTube video came up and it was him speaking English. And of course he doesn't speak English. And so he does his whole speech at Davos or whatever, and it's all in English, and his mouth is moving correctly, and it's him on stage. And, you don't really know whether or not what he's saying is really what he was sane,
Yeah.
but you take it at face value. Now, I mean, you could basically make anybody say anything, anybody do anything, and it's their likeness.
That's correct. In their voice.
And their voice.
So we use 11 labs. 11 labs, you can clone any voice. So you can clone Trump, you can clone Obama, you can clone Steve Buscemi, right? You pick an actor, pick a famous politician, pick whoever, you can clone their voice, and then you can make it speak in pretty much any language that you want. With video, they're taking it now where you can expand out the room and it'll guess what the rest of the room looks like based on, a billion other rooms that has looked like, or whatever the rest of the background looks like based on a billion other backgrounds that is seen. So it'll just kind of start auto-completing everything. They're doing it for video now. There's some things that are out there for video. The video isn't quite there yet, but if you look at Midjourney, 2 years ago, Midjourney, kind of the earlier version was out, and the pictures look terrible. And today they look photorealistic down to the strands of hair, down to the hair on your face, right? Every eyelash, every eyebrow, like not like you can see the individual things. It looks photorealistic, where it looks like I took it on a high-powered iPhone or something, and you just can't tell it's not real. That's going to happen for everything. So
is that scary for you?
I think we're in the post-truth world. I think unless you see it with your own eyes, you can't believe it. And even then, you got to be a little careful. If you see it in front of you, like something blows up and you feel the heat and you're like, maybe it's real. But yeah, I mean, they can clone anything. So I actually did a few videos on this. I can have some worker bots that I create, give them a personality, and have them start spitting out tweets, or have them start spitting out, articles or whatever. You can make, for all intents and purposes, an unlimited amount. You could make, 1 billion a day with a little bit of cash behind you, right? So you could overwhelm any medium, right, that's out there. If someone was organized and smart and had some good technical people, you could overwhelm any medium with the type of information. If you wanted to say Trump was evil and bad, you could put out 10 million articles a day saying Trump is evil and bad. If you want to say Biden's evil and bad, you can put out 10 million articles a day saying Biden's evil and bad. And anything he did, you could have 1,000 people comment that it was terrible. Anyone who said he's good, you could have 1,000 people comment that it's bad, right? So that tech exists today. The fact that it hasn't happened yet, I'm actually a little surprised, because they can do that right now, and they can clone any voice, and they can clone any face, and they can do a video, and they could have a picture of you going and kicking a dog somewhere and slapping a baby, and it would look like you and it would sound like you, and you might lose your job for it, and you'd be like, hey, this was fake. And then you find out after the fact that oh, maybe they doctored this video, or he wasn't here supposedly when this happened, or it never existed. But by the time your reputation has been destroyed and your career has been ruined, it doesn't really matter, right?
Well, they had Trump. I mean, I saw the pictures of him getting arrested, and like
then running free.
Yeah, he's like.
Did you see the one of him crossing the Delaware, and the ones with him fighting in the Coliseum and all the other things?
Well, I didn't. I don't know if I saw that one, but this one was real. I mean, this one looks so real. Where he was getting arrested, the policemen were taking him, like he was outside in the street, and he's getting, his hands were behind his back. I mean, it was so real. If you were just some idiot and just believed it, you're like, wow, they really arrested Donald Trump. You know what I mean? And it's just a whole nother level of world we're living in right now. And it's fascinating to me, but also scary, because now, like you said, you don't know if anything is real anymore. I mean,
wait till it gets 1,000 times better.
I mean, look at even on Instagram. Yeah, exactly. And look at on Instagram. I mean, there are photorealistic pictures of people that are not even people. I mean, I have a pretty decent sized account, so I get a lot of just weird followers, I mean, just weird stuff. Weird people are following me. but from time to time, I'm getting these pictures of like this really gorgeous, beautiful woman, and like, hello, how you doing? You know what I mean? And then, you just have to look at, if you really, I know what these things look like, but if you look at the picture, you're like, all right, that's not even a real picture. It's not even a real human being, but it looks so realistic. It's crazy.
Yeah. So my headshots are all AI, right? Like they asked for headshots and I didn't feel like, going and hiring a photographer and getting them done. So I just had all AI headshots done. And no one has commented, are those real or not? Like they just look real and we use them.
I love it. I love it.
I have a friend in my AI group and he's doing OnlyFans models. And it's all fake. It's all computer AI generated. They're also
and is he making money from that?
Oh yeah.
This is crazy.
There's another thing that they're doing is fast fashion, right? They'll come out with a design for like a dress, or they'll come out with a design for some piece of clothing, and they'll put it on digital models and they'll put it out there and they'll start taking orders and they'll see what's a hit. And then they'll know, hey, this is something that we want to mass produce or not. But they'll do that with AI models before the clothes have been produced.
Unbelievable.
So they have, pictures of clothes and pictures of models, and they put it out there and people are like, oh, does this resonate with, with people? So, yeah, I mean, and that's today. That's today.
Okay. So biggest mentor, who's your biggest mentor of your life?
I mean, my father. So, he was very successful running some businesses and taught me a lot. And the older I get, the more I realize how correct he was about most things.
What type of business was he in?
Staffing. I grew up in the staffing business. I was doing staffing since I was 14.
So was it easy working with your dad?
Not particularly.
Did you guys ever argue or fight?
Not so often. I mean, obviously, your family, you fight every once in a while. But, he ran a tight ship for staff and everything was regimented. It was like being in the Army. So, that's pretty much how it was. You're going to make your 150 calls a day and, you're going to hit your numbers and you're going to make 20 completed calls come hell or high water. And it's, if you don't have your 20 completed calls, don't leave until you're done. And, that was kind of the environment that I grew up in for sales.
So is that where you got your discipline from, your dad?
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's where I got my discipline. So that would be, kind of the sales environment, but I think that's all changed today. I think that is kind of the old way of doing sales. And now you need to be a little more inventive. You need to, again, if you're going to try to do sales using that methodology today, come 2025, I think you're going to be in big trouble, especially if you're dealing with the consumer. And then even B2B stuff. I remember I had my staffing business for a while and we were calling the Fortune 500s. And we would meet some of these guys at conferences and the guys would tell us, oh yeah, I get 300 to 500 calls a day, 300 to 500 calls a day. I turn off my desk phone, right? No one can reach me on my desk phone. If you don't have my cell phone, you're not going to reach me. Now, I have really good identity management. I can get anyone's cell phone in America pretty much. I mean, maybe not Obama or Trump, but like, pretty much anyone else. But even then, if you call these guys, you can still get in trouble. So you're really going to have to be careful on how you do it going forward. Advertising is going to play a huge, effect in this, which is probably pretty good for the social media companies. It's probably going to be pretty good for Facebook, pretty good for Google.
So can AI, I mean, at this point, I'm just wondering if this technology is available because I just thought about it right now. Is AI able to start uploading for me? Like, can it upload to my Twitter, my Instagram, if I program it, what little things I wanted to say, what I wanted to do? Does it?
100%. And there's a tool out there. If you take a look, right, if you Google it, you'll find a tool that will be able to go and have AI write your tweets for you. If you're looking to do SEO articles, you'll find a tool that is going to be able to write your SEO articles for you. It might not be the best tool, it might not be the best articles, but it'll be serviceable. And these things are in their infancy. So for anything you want like that, there's a tool out there that already exists. We're building out those capabilities. We haven't done it yet, but we're going to have those capabilities within Bigly as well, to be able to go and, put any sort of responses on social media. We also have an autoresponder set up. So any bots that we do, any messages that we get in, any text, any email, any SMS, we can auto respond to it. And we're going to add that to all the social platforms as well: Facebook, X, Instagram, YouTube, etc. So yeah, but these are solved problems. It's all solved. If you look around, there's someone doing it, and they'll charge you 20, 30, $50 a month, whatever the number is, and you'll be able to do it.
But it's doable.
Oh, it's done.
Yeah.
Not doable, it's done.
It's done.
Solved problem already there.
So entrepreneurship, obviously you've been an entrepreneur for a long time, built your own businesses, worked with your father, you've done it all over the years. What advice, that young, hungry, motivated tiger, salesperson, entrepreneur, they want to change their life. What's maybe one or two pieces of advice you could give that person?
So the first advice I'm going to tell everyone right now, I think the most valuable advice on the planet, is go learn these AI tools. Go learn them. You will be more effective than everyone else you know. You will be able to do 10 times the work. Ask it how it can solve a problem for you, right? If there's something that you're trying to do, you can probably do it in a fraction of the time with a fraction of the effort if you just learn how to use these tools, right? We're talking about something today. We're working with a client, and they're in, a quarter of the country, and they gave us here's our 7,000 zip codes that we're working with right now. And they're like, oh, just give it to, ChatGPT and get a list of every city that encompasses those 7,000 zip codes, or every county that encompasses those 7,000 zip codes, right? You can give it manual things like this, and it will do that work for you. Now, again, maybe you can't do it 100% of the time today. Maybe it's like, oh, that's too much work for me. You're not paying me enough money, right? But within a year or two, again, there's nothing like that it won't be able to do. So that's number one. Learn the new technology, play with the new technology, embrace the new technology. You're either going to learn the new technology, or you're going to get replaced by someone who knows it. That's number one. Number two, it's so cheap and easy to start up a company these days. The barriers to entry that were there don't exist anymore. So if you need a graphic designer, maybe you can do an AI tool. But if you don't feel you have the time, the effort, the desire to learn graphic design, go to Fiverr, go to Upwork, hire someone for $50, have them do it for you. And you can do that for pretty much anything under the sun. There's no-code tools like Bubble. I don't know if you've heard of Bubble. No-code basically is a plug-and-play drop builder for creating websites, right? So, I want to add Google Maps to something. I can drop Google Maps in. And again, maybe you don't know how to figure it out. Go to Fiverr, go to Upwork, right? Pay someone a couple $100 to set up that Wix page for you, to set up that WordPress page for you, to set up that Squarespace page, or if you're doing something a little more complex, to set up that Bubble page for you. I mean, all of this stuff, we're talking a couple $100, right? You give it to someone who's offshore, who does this full time. For me, when I'm hiring, I'm using Deal right now because I like full-time employees where they work for me and, they're not working for 10 other people. And I'm using this company called Deal, D-E-E-L, deal.com. It's one of the fastest growing companies on earth. They're like ADP globally. I can now hire someone in India. I can hire someone in Pakistan. I can hire someone in the Philippines, and I can pay them directly and have them work with me. There's communication tools like WhatsApp. I can make free phone calls anywhere in the world, video calls, right? Just like, the iPhone, whatever the hell they call it in the iPhone.
FaceTime.
FaceTime, there you go. But I can use WhatsApp to do the exact same thing for absolutely free and talk to someone anywhere in the world. So with all these tools now, we can be on a Zoom call. I have no idea where you are, Daniel. I assume by a beach somewhere.
Newport Beach.
Newport Beach.
Yeah.
All right. So, I mean, again, you could be in Timbuktu, right? As long as you have an internet connection, it doesn't matter. So I think all kind of the excuses people have kind of gone away. I would start on something, test and iterate. That's the other big thing. So we use something called the Agile methodology. If we're building, we build a day or two at a time, maybe 3 days if it's a big thing, but you break a giant task down into smaller digestible tasks and you do them one at a time, and then you iterate rather than trying to, eat the whole thing at once, right? If you have a giant plate of food in front of you, don't try to stuff the whole thing in your mouth all at once. You take digestible bites. It's the exact same thing. You break it down into smaller tasks, you test, expect to have problems with everything you do. If you haven't done something before, you're probably not going to be the best guy on earth at it. It's, I don't know if you've seen this curve, like the peak of idiocy is, oh, that looks pretty easy. I'll just be able to do it. I can play basketball like Michael Jordan. Sure. I'll just go out and dunk the ball. And right. You're going to have some growing pains with this stuff. Just start small and test on whatever you do and iterate from there. And that's all it is.
Yeah. I think people forget that, even with technology, even with anything that you're trying to accomplish, you're going to have to put in the 10,000 hours. You're going to have to put in that effort and that time and that discipline of getting up every day. You still have to prompt ChatGPT. It doesn't read your mind yet, which I'm sure that's coming in the next version, but
they actually think it can kind of read people's minds,
I'm
that
sure
it's seeing what brain waves look like, and now it can look at you through sensors, and it can look at your brain waves, and it can basically think of what you're thinking. It knows what you're thinking because it knows what they look. I mean, it can basically read minds at this point.
Did you ever watch that it was like a YouTube, I think it might have been on YouTube, and I think it was who plays Iron Man,
Tony Stark. I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, Tony Stark, but the actor, right? So it was a YouTube documentary, and they were talking about the future.
Robert Downey Jr.
Robert Downey Jr. Did you ever watch that documentary?
I have not seen the documentary.
Yeah, I think it's hard to find on there, but anyway, it was very, very interesting because again, they were talking about 50 years from now, 100 years from now, 200 years from now, 300 years from now, like what was going to happen in the future. And one of the things that they had, what they're predicting is we are going to have chips. You're going to have a chip in your head. I'm going to have a chip in my head, and we could just read each other's minds. We don't even have to talk. We could just, read. Now, I don't know how real that is or how practical that is.
Elon already has chips in monkeys.
Yeah, absolutely.
He has them in monkeys.
The technology's there.
They can put a chip in your brain to have it move an artificial limb right now.
Absolutely. But
they just want to make sure it's not killing people.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, hopefully they test that one out. But I'm saying, this is like they're predicting that 100 years from now, society is just going to be able to just communicate without actually moving your lips. You can communicate with people, and it's happening.
You already can.
It's already.
I could text you right now, and we can communicate instantly across the globe. I'm texting with guys in India and Pakistan all day long. We're communicating. They're however many miles away that is.
I guess that's.
So to move that from the computer in my hand to a computer in my brain isn't that far a leap.
Wild. That is just absolutely wild. What a world we're living in. And the next version of everything is just, to me, it's, I know it scares a lot of people. And I think a lot of people have a lot of hesitancy with this, but I think that happened at any point in the world and in history. Everybody tries to push back. It's kind of like every generation of a child, right? I'm going to fight my parents because they don't know better. I know better. And everybody tries to fight whatever is new. And I'm just making sure everybody understands it. All my audience that watches me every week, I mean, for whatever reason, when I got into business at 21 years old, I just, I always looked at what could make my life easier. It's funny to talk about, but before Google Docs came out, I wanted Google Docs. Like I was using Excel, and then I was taking that and I was emailing all those spreadsheets out to my people because I wanted us to stay on the same page, my sales organization, and I wanted us to compete and see our numbers every day. So I would email those out, or I'd print it out on a piece of paper and Xerox it and give it to all my sales, before all that stuff. And then all of a sudden Google Docs comes out, and then now I could just type in the information and then everybody sees it real time. I mean, what an amazing thing that was. Like I never fought when the texting came out. I never fought when the social media came out. I never fought when all these different things came out. I was like, scanner. I was one of the first people to use a scanner in my business because I figured it's better than having a bunch of pieces of paper laying around all over the place. I wanted to scan it, get it in the system. That way it's organized. That way I can go find it whenever I want to. It just all made sense to me. And so what you're doing to me is revolutionary and exciting. And I think that every sales organization or, any company for that matter needs to investigate what you're doing, Thomas, because it's fantastic. And obviously, your shit. You've been very successful at what you're doing, and you know what you're doing. And that is exciting. And plus, you're trying to do it above board and by the book, and trying to protect your clients to not get in trouble in the future. That I think is powerful as well.
We're going to have to.
Yeah.
If you're not doing it by the book, the government's going to come after you, guns blazing, and they're going to put you out of business. So. And the book isn't that bad. You just have to talk to some guys and follow the rules. So we actually have the TCPA attorney who represents the industry group and goes and talks in front of the FTC and the FCC as our lawyer. Anyway, that's the sort of counsel that you want for doing this sort of stuff.
I think that's a valuable protection and a valuable reason why to really check out your service. So, hey, look, everybody, remember that, if you guys could do me a big favor, Thomas, how do we get a hold of you, and, where do we go to find your stuff and talk to you and ask you questions or see your website? Give us all that detail.
Go to bigleysales.com. If you go to bigleysales.com, we literally have a little button on there where you can talk to a sales rep right away. So we make it really easy to get in touch with us. Just go to bigleysales.com and
do you have any social media, any Instagram?
We got all of it.
Okay.
I don't even know all the handles off the top of my head, but if you look up Bigley Sales, you'll find us out there on every social media channel that there is.
Okay. And I hope that everybody that's watching or listening, go out, reach out to Thomas and say hello to him. And just let him know that you appreciate his time and his effort and his expertise to bring it to Wealth on the Beach podcast. We appreciate you so much, man. And as always, everybody, man, just continue to dream bigger, right? You got to get after it. But then at the end of the day, you got to take action. You got to do something, right? Get out of your own way and do it now. God bless you. We will see you at the top.